Hey everyone, today I'm going to say something I like and dislike about every single Dead by Daylight killer. It can be about power, design, perks, lore, just about anything. Drop your thoughts down below as we go, and let's get started. Trapper has some really nice add-ons, I think. I like the range of them and how a bunch provide cool and unique effects that you don't really see anywhere else in the game. With his slightly buffed up state nowadays, many make him very fun. I dislike just how map reliant he is though. I think it's really just not very fair that some maps heavily counter your power due to them lacking good trap spots and stuff like that. All killers get affected somehow, but Trapper is affected quite a bit. Wraith I appreciate and like for being the closest to default DBD gameplay, a character that is great to learn on and develop your skills on due to his power being so simple and focus mainly on your ability to chase effectively, with some stealthy bonuses. My dislike would be that I think his mastery ceiling is pretty low. It feels like once you get him down and understand him, that's about all there is. There's not much else to learn. Billy, I just love his speed and the overdrive mechanic in general. There's something so satisfying about darting around the map with this effect active. My dislike is mainly just that his add-ons are boring. It's mostly just number changes, with a lot of them not even doing much really. Nurse, I'm just going to repeat what I said in the original video, which is that I both like and dislike that she breaks the rules. I partly like that we have that permanent number one spot occupied, having that benchmark almost and that character to point to as the strongest, but equally that kind of sucks, and it would be nice after 8 years for that to be changed. I see the positives in both. For Myers, my like is that I just really appreciate the variety available with him, and the subsequent fear it causes in game. You might go into a trial against a heavily nerfed down Myers, or might be hit with a tombstone piece. I don't even necessarily think it's always fun, but I do like that anticipation. My dislike is that still in the year of 2024, he's still able to essentially lose his power for, well, using it too much. That's just silly. Hag has some really great add-ons, to be honest. She has a good combination of quality of life and bonus stuff, but also game-changing add-ons that alter the power and how it functions. My dislike is her counterplay is just worse now, I think. I don't like the base ability to scratch out traps, and I honestly preferred when it was a unique thing for flashlights. Doctor I like for the chaos he brings to the trials. They really nailed the gameplay with him. He does feel stressful to face, and Madness does feel very imposing and confusing to deal with. My dislike would be that his add-ons are like essays, and being straight up honest, I've never read most of them fully. Moving on. Huntress I like for still being the best ranged character in DBD after all these years. She's still the best made one, I think. Her hatchets are simple fun, and are still a great way to play the game after so many years. My dislike I think would be her perks, specifically these two. They're just so horribly outdated and have not been touched in what feels like forever. Bubba I like his high risk, high reward gameplay, the ability to insta-down, but the downside of a tantrum that plays if you collide with something that isn't a survivor. That's a nice balance. My dislike for Bubba would still just be the Bubba stereotype that feeds into itself. Basement Bubbas are just sort of annoying when you realize the potential and fun of his character when they try and get into chases and interact with survivors in a more regular way. Freddy's like would be the dream palettes can be kind of funny and make for some good moments sometimes. Freddy's greatest sin though, and my dislike, is that he's just really boring. He's the character no one likes or wants to play. Dull power, add-ons, lack of cosmetics, everything. Pig has such a great combination of abilities. It's one of the most interesting ability combinations, I think. Her unique traps and slowdown, the awesome stealth and rush attack she has, she is so incredibly unique. My dislike is I wish there was a bit more to the trap mechanic, a little more of a system or a means to figure out where your key is, rather than it just being random guesswork. It's a little boring and frustrating in that way, for both sides. Clown I like for the cool little spin he does with his knife. That's pretty cool, I guess. I don't like his power. I think being slowed down and having your vision distorted is just really boring and not enjoyable. Yeah. Spirit I think has some of the creepiest facial expressions in the game. The way she switches from solemn to angry and then lashes out is just so disturbing, especially with her backstory in mind. I don't like her power and think never will. I just think it's sort of unfair still. She goes invisible with very few ways to counter her. It's especially unfair for those who are hard of hearing, with the countering of her power and also the usage of her power being heavily reliant on sound. Legion I like for their 5-hit down. I think that's such a cool mechanic and something that doesn't feel present in any other character really. A mechanic where you have to inflict all of the survivors in some way before obtaining a powerful powerful insta-down reward. My dislike is mending is just so boring still, especially with add-ons that extend it. It's the closest I get to bored with this game, is just a Legion repeatedly making me mend. Plague I like for being one of the most well-crafted characters in the game. Her visuals, sound design, lore, perks, and add-ons all work together so well to craft and mold this character into something complex and interesting. My dislike is I just don't really like that she stops healing perks from being useful. I think for how many perks are in the category of healing, it's a little silly she just denies their use entirely. Ghostface I like as the stealthiest of the stealth characters. You really feel stealthy with him. You feel sneaky and immersed within the character, I think. Being able to lean and crouch, just giving that extra bit of help to this feeling too. My dislike is his add-ons have the most backwards balancing it feels. These two add-ons to me are his best, which feels off with them both being common. Demogorgon I like for the cool long jumps you can do off of some objects. It feels like stuff like this is largely patched out of the game with invisible walls and stuff, but Demo can still sort of do it. My dislike is that its add-ons feel pretty boring. There are some cool ones in there like the lifeguard whistle, but for the most part they're quite dull. Oni I like for his intimidating presence in the trials, his stomping and his map-wide scream as he bursts with bright red flames. That's pretty cool. My dislike, please stop screaming in the lobby. Deathslinger provides some of the most fun moments and sort of immersive ones too. You feel like a Wild West bounty hunter as you shoot your spear and reel in the target. It's a fun design and never gets old really despite being so simple. Dislike that his add-ons are just terrible. They aren't good and they're boring. Pyramid Head I like for just being so different with his unique power and combination of varied elements. Also cages, that's just an entirely different way to play the game when you have that option. Pyramid Head's dislike would be the really bad feeling planting animation he has at the moment. It's all wobbly or shaky and it just doesn't feel good to use. Blight I appreciate as the lore killer, the killer with a bunch of lore and backstory within the realm, and one we can see the effect of their actions in other areas of the game, such as their infection of the killers with the blighted serum. It's this cool deal where we really get to see how this character impacted the realm. My dislike is that his add-ons are getting changed so frequently that I have no idea what most of them do anymore. Twins my like is that they finally receive the quality of life changes they deserved and get to truly be a functional and fun part of the game again. My dislike is a lack of cosmetics for Victor. He is technically a power, but I feel there should surely be an exception for him because he's like a person, not just like a thing, like a trap. Trickster has some of the creepier and most disturbing lore in the game, I think, which is something you might not expect when just glancing at him. I like the groundedness of his character though, again something you may not expect when looking at him. My dislike is that his power is just so hit or miss for me, also in the literal sense. Sometimes there's that flow and it's a lot of fun, and other times it just feels like I'm incapable of anything. Maybe and likely a skill issue. Nemesis I appreciate for the rhythm of his gameplay and power. There's something very smooth and fluid about using the tentacle attack to infect and shred through pallets in your path. My dislike is the same as last time, which is that Nemesis just doesn't really feel like Nemesis. He feels too slow and clunky, and it does feel a little off to be using this little tentacle when you know the sheer power this hulking BOW really has. I get that it's changed for gameplay, but this is a case for a character where it feels more off than usual. Pinhead has some of the most unique trials in the game. Pinhead games really feel like they function differently from regular DBD, and I really like that. They can be annoying sometimes, sure, for either side, but it's a nice change and I wish I saw him more. I miss him. My dislike is, I guess, the weird spawns you can get sometimes when teleporting to someone with the box. That's a weird complaint, I know. Artist I like for the potential of her power. She's a character where it feels like she just has literal endless potential and a never-ending skill ceiling, with her ability to technically damage someone from basically anywhere on the map. My dislike is still her lack of crow perks. She's a character with a crow power, I just wish there was some crow perk love. Sadako has such great sounds and animations in both the lobby and in-game. They're just really cool looking with all of the flickering and distortion effects. My dislike would be maybe just her power being changed so much, and in these sort of specific ways. I found it quite hard keeping up with what she's really meant to be doing. Dredge I like and dislike for sort of the same thing, which is Nightfall. I love its visuals and how it repeats its lore effects in-game, but I don't really like actually facing it due to just how dark it is. It's not something that's overly scary anymore, and I just find it a bit annoying. It looks great though, and these sounds are quite cool and creepy. Wesker is just incredibly fun as a character with his quips and quotes. It gives an entirely unique feel to each trial. He's a case too where the goofiness doesn't necessarily take away from any sense of immersion. It all just works. My dislike is maybe just his frequency. As much as I like facing him, he is played a ton. I'm still a little scared from his release day when he was literally who you'd face for the majority of games for about 2 months. But hey, equally that's also sort of a positive, just outlining how well made and fun he is. Knight I appreciate for how they fleshed out not only his character, but also considered the story of his guards as well. They all have names and even individual killer-like titles, and I just think that's pretty cool. My dislike is probably still just the inconsistency this power can have. Guards can still feel like they perform strangely sometimes, or fly off too far from where you want them, stuff like that. Skull Merchant is a character who is enhanced a lot, I think, by the inclusion of her tome, cosmetics, and their flavor text. A character who moves from being fairly confusing and one-dimensional to being a lot more interesting due to these added things. My dislike would be that I can't play a game as her without someone giving up or DCing at some point in the majority of games. Singularity I like for his power. It's such a cool combination of information, chase abilities, almost a trap aspect too. It's great. My dislike is just how exhausting it feels to play him well. It's such an ordeal, I guess I would phrase it as, to keep focus and really truly play him well. Xenomorph I like for its awesome animations and sounds. When looking at this thing coiling down the ceiling in the lobby, you're just like, damn, that looks cool. I don't like its power though, I find it quite boring to face especially. The tail attack just feels like wrong somehow. Even the times when I think I figured out how to counter it, I get hit over something and it leaves me confused. But hey, maybe another skill issue. Chucky I like for his literal new perspective on the game, how he was creatively tackled with his height and made into the first third-person killer. This gives him such a unique feel and makes playing him feel almost like an entirely new game. My dislike would be that sometimes it just feels like he speaks at the worst moments. You'll be sneaking around and he'll suddenly just start yapping. Unknown is great for its visuals and sound design, the scariest out of any killer to me, and one that helped really revive the game's horror elements and setting a new standard for just how scary DBD can be. My dislike is that I still find it unfortunate that Unknown has no crawling feature. We see it in the trailers, in the lobby, but it's not present in the game. This could have been a cool mechanic and really amped up the horror too. Vecna brought back crow perks, and for that he'll forever be loved by me. There are so many things to like, but I've been waiting for the crow perks too long to not mention it. My dislike is hard because I think he's genuinely one of the most well-made characters. My dislike is maybe his title name, the Lich. He has so many other cool names that are even listed in his lore, and honestly, I just think most of them sound better. That's gonna do it. Drop your likes and dislikes too down below. Thanks, and goodbye.